and welcome to Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live, the weekly sessions where we talk about all things nonprofit. Whether you're a seasoned nonprofit professional or just getting started in the industry, these lives are for you. Our mission is to provide engaging and informative conversations with experts in the nonprofit world, sharing insights, strategies, and stories that can help you make a difference in your community and beyond. Each episode is centered around a theme for the month. The topics include anything from fundraising and marketing to volunteer management and board development. We'll explore the challenges facing nonprofits today and share practical tips and advice for overcoming them. But Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live isn't just about learning. We also want to create a community of like-minded individuals who are passionate about making a positive impact. We want to hear from you and engage in conversations that inspire and motivate us all to do more. So whether you're tuning in during your morning commute, while doing chores around the house, or on a break from your busy workday, we hope you'll find something valuable in each episode of Nonprofit Enthusiasts Live. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nonprofit Enthusiast Live. I am your host, Lashina Williams, and before I get started, I just want to wish you all a happy National Nonprofit Day. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. As you all know, this month theme is National Nonprofit Day, Fund Development, and Fundraising. Last week, we had Dr. Angela White-Jones that joined us and gave some tips around these areas, so if you missed it, make sure you go to the guide section and check that out. So we're going to continue the conversation today, and I'm excited because we have Kimberly Swartz joining us, and we're going to continue this conversation. I'll talk about National Nonprofit Day, Fund Development, and Fundraising. But before I bring Kimberly up, I just want to give a brief bio. So Kimberly Swartz is a social change professional who believes that forging more connections between community members is what will make our world safer, kinder, and more just. As Taproot Foundation's Director of Community Engagement, Swartz leads the programmatic design and management of Taproot Plus, an innovative tech platform that matches social change organizations with pro bono resources. In 2022 alone, Taproot Plus connected 3,000 nonprofits with over 6.75 million in volunteer services and welcome 11,000 new business professionals to their community of difference maker. She regularly works with nonprofit organizations, volunteers, and companies to share resources, conducts trainings on the tenets of great pro bono, and help center their community partnerships in a place of empathy and shared learning potential. I've had the pleasure of meeting Kimberly when I participated in the American Express Leadership Academy in New York. We met, and from there, I was like, oh, Kimberly, can you please come and join us? So I am so excited to have her join us and just for you all to learn more about her and also the amazing resources that Taproot has. So I am going to go ahead and welcome Kimberly up. Hello, Kimberly. How are you?
Hi, everyone. So good to be here. I'm doing great. And Lashina, I've just got to say, you're such a light, and I'm just so delighted that you invited me to come on today. I'm really, really excited for this.
I'm excited that you accepted, and I know that you have tons of resources and tips to share with our community, so I'm just glad that you're here with us today.
Yeah, happy to be.
And happy National Nonprofit Day to you.
I know. I chose this day when I was signing up and grabbing a slot with you for a reason. I really, really love nonprofits. There's a reason I do what I do, and I'm at the organization that I'm with. So, what better day to have this conversation?
Yes. So before we dive into talking more about the topic, I would love for us to just learn more about you. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind just telling us about how you got into the nonprofit sector and just your journey overall.
Yeah, would be happy to. So Kimberly Swartz, you can call me Kim, she, her, hers pronouns. I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina with my husband and 2 dogs who are the light of our lives. But I actually grew up in rural Central Florida, which is actually one of the reasons Lashina and I connected, since we're both Floridians and both have dealt with some of the challenges and also opportunities that come with that. But I went to college in South Carolina. I served in AmeriCorps out on the West Coast, and I actually started my career in New York City. So I have lived in definitely a variety of communities. And as Lashina mentioned, I work at Taproot Foundation, a US-based national nonprofit organization that connects organizations with skilled volunteers from the corporate worlds of IT, finance, marketing, strategy, HR, and more. Basically, we're a nonprofit that serves other nonprofits. But before we get too much into that, because I definitely have much more to share about Taproot and resources you can connect with, I want to get back to your original question of kind of how and why I even started serving in the nonprofit sector. I definitely credit my parents for signing me up for Girl Scouts back in the day. I definitely think, and I'm curious if there's any other former Scouts on the line too, definitely shout it out. But just those service projects, when you get involved at age 5, 6, 7, it just starts to ingrain this idea of, okay, no, giving back, connecting with community members, this is something I should be doing because it brings you a lot of personal joy and a sense of just obligation to your fellow man and woman. And so definitely credit Girl Scouts, but I also have been doing a lot of reflection on this since our time in the Amex Academy. And I've grown to really credit my early love for reading and libraries for being a starting point for my social good professional journey. Because as a kid, I was very quiet, very nerdy, very introverted, and I definitely kind of was looking inward, did a lot of reading, a lot of quiet time, but I loved being at the library. I loved being in a space where I could just exist and learn and just benefit from the community and the society around me. And you didn't have to do anything to deserve a place there or deserve to benefit from those resources. Everyone was deserving just because they existed in our community. And so that childhood interest and that love for libraries definitely helped shape my college experience. I did multiple internships each year with archival libraries around Charleston, South Carolina, where I went to school, with museums, public museums, as well as library foundations to just learn more about community institutions and what it took to run them. And what it took to fundraise for them as well. And then that also led me to take my summer job, where every year I would go back home to Florida and I would work as a program associate at my local Boys and Girls Club. And I ran the literacy programs there as well. And so all of that college experience and childhood experience too definitely helped inform. After college, I thought that I was potentially going to maybe pursue a graduate degree, maybe in museum studies or library studies or nonprofit management, but I would have to take out tens of thousands of dollars of loans to be able to afford a grad program. And I was not ready to make that investment yet. I wasn't ready to sign myself up for, a lifetime of student debt. So I was like, okay, let me take a minute and I'm going to do a gap year. I want to do some service learning instead. And so I joined AmeriCorps NCCC, National Civilian Community Corps. And I was stationed out on the West Coast. And I just had the most amazing experience. I worked with a team it was a group of 10 of us, and we were 18 to 25 and all kind of in that stage where you're kind of figuring things out, wondering, what am I going to do next? And we got to kind of answer those questions collectively as we were serving different nonprofits and governmental groups. So I had like the weirdest and strangest, but also most beautiful experiences. We were doing butterfly habitat restoration in
Oh.
Oregon. I built a community garden in Helena, Montana. We did flood relief in Death Valley. We built houses in San Francisco. So just really like this super enriching experience where I got to just touch all of these different nonprofit organizations. And it really expanded my view, my perspective around, okay, it's not just libraries and museums that are providing these spaces where everyone belongs and everyone is valued. But these organizations, these grassroots-led organizations, really have the answers. And I want to spend my time with them. I want to spend my time supporting them, working with them, and changing what our society looks like in the US so that more people are listening to them and that they're better positioned as leaders because they have the answers, but not enough people are listening to them right now. And so that gap year kind of never ended. So I never actually ended up going back to school because after AmeriCorps, I moved to New York. I had accepted a part-time job with the New York Public Library and a temp position at this weird nonprofit called Taproot Foundation that was doing this. They were doing this thing I had never heard of up until that point. They were connecting nonprofits with pro bono resources from companies. They were redistributing wealth from the corporate space to the nonprofit space by creating pro bono, but it wasn't legal pro bono. It was business pro bono. This is such a strange concept, but I'm in. So I had accepted a temp position there, and now fast forward, I've been here as a full-time root for 7+ years now. So
Wow.
life comes at you fast. But that's a little bit of my journey and kind of why I first delved into nonprofits and why I'm still here.
Oh my gosh, I just love hearing your journey. I just love hearing how different people enter the nonprofit space and hearing yours, starting way your parents got you in with Girl Scout, and then you with after graduating going into the AmeriCorps and help building up other nonprofits, and then now here at Taproot. I just absolutely love it. So before we learn a little bit more about Taproot and the resources that's available to nonprofits organizations, another resource that you talked about was AmeriCorps. Can you talk about like what AmeriCorps does for communities? How nonprofits can tap into AmeriCorps volunteers as a resource within their community. And then we could talk a little bit about Taproot and all that, Taproot has to offer as well. So for those of you tuning in, make sure you listen up because a lot of resources is about to come your way. So get your notebook and get everything ready. So, okay. So yes, can you tell us a little bit about AmeriCorps?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge proponent of AmeriCorps. I think national service is such an amazing opportunity for young people, especially. The program that I did is, like I mentioned, it's team-based and it's meant for ages 18 to 24. So it's really targeted for people just graduating high school or maybe just graduating from college who are looking to gain skills, gain a lot of, I hate this term, but like soft skills, collaboration, teamwork, project management, public speaking. All of those things can be developed through these service engagements with nonprofit organizations who have effectively applied to their state or national representatives for AmeriCorps grants. And these grants aren't financial grants, they're grants of people who come into your organization either as a team, which is the program that I participated in, but sometimes AmeriCorps positions could just be one person who comes into your organization and provides like hands-on capacity building resources for your team. So for instance, I mentioned an example where we literally built a community garden for a nonprofit. We were building houses for Habitat for Humanity, right? There's also an AmeriCorps program called AmeriCorps Vista, which is more capacity building, but structurally. So, for example, we actually worked with an AmeriCorps Vista team member who was a project coordinator for bringing in funds for the community garden and the materials that then we used to actually build it on site. So there's levels to the AmeriCorps capacity building support that are available to you through your state AmeriCorps hub. So definitely recommend checking that out. I believe in Florida specifically, I've met with the folks at Volunteer Florida, and they're the statewide hub there. And so there's hubs like that around the nation, and definitely recommend reaching out to them, going to their info calls, because they have so many good resources available for, what is the right type of AmeriCorps support that you could tap into.
I love it. And I remember some of the youth programs I worked with, we would have AmeriCorps volunteers there, and the life and energy that they brought to that program was amazing.
Yeah.
The activities that they brought, like, it was very innovative, and just it was such a pleasure working with them.
Yeah, I highly recommend it, whether you have a family member or friend who would be the right fit for at the right age to get involved. Definitely recommend it. There's also something called Senior Corps. You're never too old to give back and get involved. So check that out too.
Wow. I'm definitely checking that out. I didn't know that was an option. Okay.
And then Taproot as the next resource. So a little bit more about Taproot, our nonprofit, and kind of how we serve other nonprofits. Basically, we run programs through our corporate and grantmaker partners, where we kind of build out customized programming and bring their grantees or bring nonprofit community members resources through those companies, through these customized programs. But really, the biggest chunk of the pie of the programs that Taproot runs is through this platform called Taproot Plus. So Taproot Plus is a free online matchmaking platform where nonprofits really sit in the driver's seat. So they tell us what they need support in. So maybe it's a social media strategy, maybe it's a new budget or an HR handbook. And then our organization helps them connect with the right volunteer for the role. So we're trying to democratize access to resources. I think I've mentioned that a few times, and we really don't believe in barriers to entry. So Taproot Plus is completely free to use, and we don't care about your staff size, where you're located in the US, rural or urban. We don't care about your budget size, who your leader is, how long you've been around. We really just believe in community-led solutions and grassroots leaders, and we're here as a resource. So whether your nonprofit needs something as it relates to fundraising, which is why I know we're here today, or something as it relates to your IT system, or what tech you're using, there are volunteers out there from the corporate world who are itching for ways to use their skills for good. They're itching for ways to be more creative in their day-to-day roles. They're looking for opportunities to actually be involved with causes that they care about, especially in the political and social environment that we're living in today. There's tons of motivation that people are feeling like, I need to do something. I need to do something about this. I need to do something about climate change. I need to do something about social justice. And so Taproot Plus, we actually have a community of nearly 200,000 volunteers who are signed up and kind of just waiting for the right opportunity to be posted on the marketplace. So I know Lashina's going to share the link with everybody,
Yes.
but I definitely encourage you sign up, and we can have more of a conversation about what the right resource, what the right service could be for you and your team.
I love it. So I have a few questions for you,
Yeah.
and I just want, and I guess best practices. If we could talk about best practices for nonprofits that would like to tap into the resources that Taproot offer, because I know sometimes we have a lot of nonprofits. Hey, I need help with this. Hey, I may need this. So let's say you know that typically some nonprofits may go to a volunteer website, post, hey, we're looking for this I don't know, fundraising support.
Yeah.
I'll just throw that out there. So we're looking for fundraising support. And it may have, brief job description. What would you say the difference between seeking, or if there's differences between seeking, let's say, volunteer positions versus seeking projects through the Taproot Plus program?
So I think you actually said it in your question. One
Yes.
is a position versus one is a project. So something to keep in mind about Taproot is that we're really task and project oriented versus role or position oriented. Because look, like, we're trying to be realistic about what it's actually going to take to get folks from the corporate world ready to serve nonprofits in a really impactful way. And it's not always feasible to say, well, I just need a finance volunteer to always be on call when I need finance solutions at my organization. You may be able to find a unicorn who's just able to be with you year in, year out, whenever you need something when it comes to financial management or budgeting, etc. But it's a little bit more realistic and on demand of a service if you're able to say, okay, well, I need someone to just do a financial audit of where we are and make some recommendations for financial management in the year ahead. Then I can take that list of recommendations, and that's a whole nother list of pro bono projects or tasks that I can get other volunteers to complete in the future. So we try and be a little bit more bite-sized about it, because that makes it easier for nonprofits to really mobilize and harness folks from the corporate world. So we look for projects and tasks versus positions and roles. Another best practice that I would share is that when thinking about ways that folks from the corporate space can support your work, especially fundraising work, you really have to think about specialization. And this is a tough one for nonprofit leaders, especially because we are cut from a different cloth. In my role, and Lashina, I'm sure in your role, like, you're wearing like 20 different hats at a time. Like, there have been some times where I've been in positions where I have been the social media manager, the program manager, the people manager, like making HR policies on the same day that I'm doing outreach for an event, on the same day that I'm crafting our email strategy for the rest year, right? Like, you exist in like these 10 different roles and functions you're fulfilling for your organization, and we're comfortable with that. We're comfortable with shifting around and doing 20 different things at once. The corporate world is typically a lot more specialized in what they're actually working on and what their role is focused on a day-to-day basis. And so if your nonprofit is saying, I need someone to assist me with developing, my business development strategy for 2024. I know that I want to dig more into individual giving and maybe through social media and email really lean into that. But I also want to dig into business sponsorships and maybe create like a pitch deck and some different levels of sponsorship locally for that. But I want a volunteer to come in and help me with that strategy and kind of help me shape those things. That doesn't necessarily have an equal in the corporate space. And so what Taproot and what my team is really positioned to help you with is kind of do a little bit of analysis on, all right, so you want to build this business development strategy. What do you feel really confident doing as a leader? Like, what are your skills? Are you more comfortable with the individual giving piece? Are you more comfortable with the sponsorship piece? Because we're going to recommend that you lean into what you're really great at, and then you bring in volunteers to kind of fill the gap, right? So that you each can lean into your specialty areas and allow volunteers to feel really comfortable doing what they're great at, doing what they do in the corporate world. So for that example, going back to it, we likely would recommend that you bring in a volunteer specifically to think about a social media strategy for individual giving. You bring in a volunteer to help you create a pitch deck for fundraising materials. And then you bring in someone else to think through your strategy for approaching local businesses for sponsorship, right? So actually 3 different volunteers to tackle this larger idea of, I need to increase my fundraising next year.
Awesome. So you all hear it, taprootplus.org, and we dropped it in the comments box. Make sure that you check them out. So the posting is absolutely free. The connection with your volunteer is absolutely free. So it's no cost to an organization, of course, unless there's supplies related to the project that they're working on or tools that's required. But this is no cost to you all. So make sure that you check that out. And I know we're not at homework yet, but I'm going to say it now. So we always like to leave with homework. So homework is going to be to go and check out taprootplus.org and also look at what projects within your nonprofit organization that you think that Taproot can support you all in. And then we're going to take it a step further. And then by next live, go ahead and post a project. I think that's what you all define as. Yeah, post a project. So that is going to be homework to take a look, see what needs you have within your organization, and post a project. Kimberly gave some amazing examples of some sort of projects, fundraising strategy, financial audits, different projects like that. Take a look. Marketing strategy. Take a look at their website and make sure that you post the project with details.
Yes. That's the best homework I've ever heard. And if I could just rapid fire a few more as it relates to fundraising, because I know everyone is probably thinking about their year-end giving campaigns. And so just want to make sure to share a few more examples there. I've seen things like even working with volunteers on their key messaging for their giving campaigns be really impactful. So that means you can just copy and paste those messages into the marketing collateral you use or the emails you send out, the social media you're posting. Obviously, graphic design is a really great way to use pro bono because you could create graphics with a volunteer in August that you're going to use in December. And so then it's just plug and play, right? So you're saving time and you're also tapping into a super valuable professional that you generally would have to spend contractor budget on, right? So you can just eliminate that line item from your 2023 budget and get graphic design for free. That's a super popular one. Also for year-end giving, a more structural piece to think about would be improving your CRM system, your customer relationship management system, whatever you're using for that. So once you gain donors through your year-end giving campaign, once you gather that information, how are you going to maintain your relationship with them? How are you going to check in with them, let them know the impact of their donation in a long-term way, and hopefully help nurture them to make a bigger donation in the future? Making sure that you're investing in what that data collection and then what your processes for using the data in an ongoing manner is such an impactful way to use corporate talent, because those guys are the experts when it comes to IT infrastructure and just processes and strategies for internal data management. So I can't tell you how quickly those projects get matched as well. That is a very underutilized resource, I would say, right now in the Taproot community. So if you have a CRM need or an IT need right now, I would say post it and you'll stand a very good chance of getting matched very quickly with someone great.
Awesome. I love it. And so our organization had the opportunity to work through the marathon. I know it's a little
Yeah.
different, but we working with the corporations was really good because it gave us a different perspective. Having and particularly the project that we worked on them with was developing a marketing strategy for
Yeah.
our corporate team building program. And having them provide the feedback was really like some suggestions they had was like, what about tapping into employee giving programs
Yeah.
and different things like that from the nonprofit perspective you wouldn't necessarily think of. So I definitely encourage you all as nonprofits to tap into this resource, also to gain that insight and just a different pair of eyes on developing whichever process systems that you need within your organization.
Yeah, and just really quickly, I had mentioned earlier that part of the work of Taproot is working with these corporate clients or grant maker clients to kind of create and run these customized programs like the marathon you just heard Lashina reference. Once you sign up for Taproot Plus, you then become eligible for any of these funded opportunities as they come available. So again, there's no cons for signing up. You'll just get access to all of these different corporate opportunities or just Taproot opportunities. So if nothing else, make an account so then you can stay in touch.
Love it. So before we end today's call, is there anything else? And I know we kind of we talked a lot about the fundraising piece. Was there anything else that you wanted to cover before we end today's call?
Man, I just want to say thank you again for offering this space. And, like I mentioned earlier, I have such a love and affinity for spaces and organizations who are just welcoming of everyone and everything and offer that place to just sit and be and just benefit from those around you. So definitely appreciate everything that you're doing here with Nonprofit Enthusiast and creating this space for other nonprofit leaders.
Thank you. I'm a big believer that we're much stronger together than we are alone. That famous quote. And there's no reason why we should be struggling trying to figure out stuff independently when we have so much resources and so much people around us that have experience in the very difficult areas that we face. And this, I mean, you sharing this expertise has definitely helped us. I'm sure there's someone listening. And I know even for me, I got ideas that I wrote down. I'm like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's good. The miracle that I'm going to take back and we're going to take a look into.
Awesome.
So, that's the value of community. So it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a community. We all have to work together. So I appreciate you for coming on and taking the time with us. And once again, everyone, happy National Nonprofit Day. Go do something great as you continue to do within your community. We talked about some of those things that you could do. If you have nothing planned for today, do something. It could be small. Maybe it's you and your team going out for a lunch, sending an email to a volunteer, thanking a donor, calling a donor, making a post. Just do something today. Let's not let this day go by without celebrating. All right.
And celebrate yourself, right?
Yes. Yep.
Take a moment to just pat yourself on the back and celebrate yourself and your accomplishments.
Yes. Love it. Well, thank you again for joining us. And we'll see you next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everyone.